Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be doing another news and stuff video. The other day I was going back through my channel just to see when I did my first news video out of curiosity, and I've been doing these for almost 7 years, which is wild to me. I can't believe that it's been that long. But anyway, moving into the news that we're going to talk about today. As always, I will first talk about special editions, then we've got general book news, and then I have some adaptation and kind of fun fandom stuff to discuss. So first up, my new favorite subscription service, The Broken Binding, will be producing a limited edition triad hardback of the 11th cycle. This is by Kian N. Ardalin, and this is going to be the second book that is published through TBB Press, which is their publishing imprint. There are no images yet of the design concept, but I thought that this was a fun announcement. The first book that they published through TBB Press was Of Fire and Blood by Ryan Cahill, and those look like they came out gorgeous. I actually ordered that one. They haven't shipped yet, but the progress photos look really good. And they have said that they are still planning on doing the rest of the Bound and the Broken series, but the 11th cycle is the next book that they'll be doing. Then moving on, Illumicrate had a live stream on Instagram, and they revealed a couple of fun details that I thought that I would share with you because not everyone can join the live streams. So starting off, their May book of the month is Witch King by Martha Wells, which I am so excited for. They said that it's actually going to keep the same cover, but there's going to be foiling and embossing and sprayed pages. There will also be end paper artwork, bonus content, and it will be signed by Martha Wells. They also announced that they have a special edition old school fantasy series in the works that will be coming out in autumn. And they also said that they will be doing an edition of He Who Drowned the World to match their edition of She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker. And they also said that they will be doing special editions of One for My Enemy and Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, but they are going to be waiting and doing those as a set so people can save on shipping and buy them in one go. And during that same live stream, they also released some more information about their upcoming Evernight subscription, which is a quarterly horror subscription. It's going to be starting in July, and it will be book only, featuring both adult and young adult titles. All of the books in the subscription will be classified as horror, and they may have a fantasy or some other subgenre, but it'll never be a fantasy book with a horror subgenre. The first theme will be announced in May, and they said that the waitlist emails will start going out around late May, early June. And lastly, they said that Illumicrate will still have some horror adjacent books in their main subscription, but those will be the ones where you'll see a fantasy book with a horror subgenre or a sci-fi book with a horror subgenre. Illumicrate also announced a special edition of Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. This is a debut fantasy novel about sisters who are in charge of guarding their family's magical library, and it sounds so good. I'm really looking forward to this one, and I am definitely going to be ordering the Illumicrate edition. Waterstones also has a special edition for Ink Blood Sister Scribe up on their website right now for pre-order. This one is also really lovely. Then we're just going to do some lightning round Fairy Loot announcements. So starting off, Fairy Loot is going to be doing One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I really like the navy and white color combination on this one. It is absolutely beautiful. They also finally announced their sequel special edition for This Cursed Light by Emily Theed. This is the next book after This Vicious Grace, which I just read in March and I really enjoyed, so I'm very much looking forward to this sequel. I also love all things nautical, so the anchors on these sprayed pages are just chef's kiss. Another sequel edition that Fairy Loot announced is Foxglove by Adeline Grace. I really like the UK cover on this one a lot. I'm actually really torn because the US cover is also great, but I have such a deep love of foxes that this is probably going to be the one that I get. And I mentioned in the last news video, but this series actually got extended from a duology into a trilogy. Next up, they will be releasing a special edition of Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. And funnily enough, this is the third news video in a row now where I have a cover reveal for Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. So this is probably the last one that I'll be sharing, but it's just funny that it was 3 in a row. Fairy Loot will also be doing an edition of The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. On this one, I quite like the dragon in the moon on the sprayed pages. And the last Fairy Loot edition that I have to announce is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. I really like the color combination on this one. I think it is just gorgeous. But one thing that is a little bothersome is that this edition goes on sale in July, but if you read the fine print, it's not actually going to be shipping until January or February of 2024. So quite a ways away, especially considering that it actually comes out on August 29th of this year. Then we have another Illumicrate edition to talk about, and that is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I think this is a really fun addition to their lineup. It's a backlisted book. It was really popular like a bunch of years ago. I actually never got around to reading it. I really do want to do so, and it seems like something that would be right up my alley. But I think it's fun that they're going to be doing some more graphic novels now that they have Lore Olympus under their belts. So I'm excited to see this from Illumicrate. Waterstones has a special edition for Sisters of the Sword by Laura Bates. I love the way that this one looks. There is a sword on the sprayed pages, which if you can't tell, I kind of have a thing for swords. This one is a female-led Arthurian fantasy novel, and I'm really excited to read it. And then lastly, I mentioned all of the special editions coming out for Leigh Bardugo books. So LitJoy Crate actually released the actual, like the finalized designs for their Six of Crows duology. I think that they are stunning. I really, really love the design. I'm disappointed that there are no sprayed pages, and I do think that it is a little bit on the expensive side for just 2 books. It's $125, so I cannot even imagine how much like the Grisha trilogy is gonna cost. However, I do have to say that I bought the Folk of the Air box set from LitJoy Crate, and those were absolutely worth the price. So the Leigh Bardugo books are actually already currently up for sale for the general public on LitJoy's website, so you can still grab these if you're interested. Then moving on to general book news. So the first thing is a pretty sad announcement that I'm sure a lot of you have already seen like floating around the web, but Book Depository is going to be closing, and the last day to place orders is April 26th, so just a couple days away. They had recently canceled my pre-order for Silverborn by Jessica Townsend, which I've had pre-ordered for like 2 years now. And I was like, that's weird. Maybe they canceled it because they're not confident that this book is ever coming out. And then just like a week later, they announced the news that they would be shutting down themselves. And I was like, wow, this makes so much sense now. I'm really sad to see this one go because it was such a great like go-to place for free shipping to the United States. And yes, Amazon is its parent company, but not everyone can afford to pay the exorbitant shipping fees when you order from independent bookstores abroad. It definitely tends to really rack up, and this was a really good alternative for like UK standard editions. I had actually placed an order there just like a couple of days before they announced their closing, and thankfully I've already received my books. My Robin Hobb collection is now complete. But yeah, I'm really upset about this. They said that they will be fulfilling orders and they will be offering customer service through June. So if you do have an issue with anything you placed last minute, you'll still be able to get in touch with someone about it. Then moving on to some cover reveals. We got the cover for The Art of Destiny by Wesley Chu. This is the second book after The Art of Prophecy, and it is a fantasy novel that is inspired by martial arts. I really love the covers on these. I actually just got the Broken Binding edition of this one because it came out in the UK almost a year later than it did in the US. So this cover reveal is for the US edition, which will be coming out on September 26th in the US and probably next spring in the UK. We also got the UK cover reveal for Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry. I really, really love this one. I mean, I just love this series as a whole. I definitely prefer the US covers. I think the like old school fantasy artwork on them just like speak to my heart, but I still do like the UK one as well. And this one's coming on November 7th. Then we got the cover reveal for Brandon Sanderson's Secret Project #2, which is the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. So this is the trade cover that will be published through Tor Books. And really funny, but Dragonsteel had actually posted something on their Instagram yesterday in their stories that this book has actually been ranked as like a number one bestseller in the category of travel guides for England, which is just like hilarious. Also on that same note, really cool, but if you watch Brandon Sanderson's update videos, he did announce that Tress of the Emerald Sea hit the bestseller list, which is super cool because it seems like everyone in the world backed his Kickstarter, but there's obviously still a general market for the trade editions as well, which is like just so awesome. Then we got a cover for Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. This is the second book in the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies series. I think it's just called Emily Wilde's, but that's the title of the first book. And this one's going to be coming in January of 2024. I really prefer the UK covers on these, so I'm very excited to see that once it's released, and also whatever Fairy Loot's planning on doing for their sequel edition, because I have no doubt that they're going to be doing this one as well. Then HarperCollins announced that they signed a deal with R.F. Kuang for 2 more novels. The first is an epic multi-generational novel featuring a Chinese-American family, and it spans the decades from the Cultural Revolution all the way through the Bush years. It explores the tensions between carving out an individual destiny and being buffeted by the tides of history. The second book that they have signed on for is a fantasy novel, and it is the story of dusty archives, unreliable sources, and an unstable sense of history that looks at what happens if, in the process of uncovering archives and piecing them together to tell the truth, we might reach backwards, grasp the ghosts, and help them push history off its course. Then Stephanie Garber announced on her Instagram that she unfortunately was unable to make a deadline, so the release date for the third book in her Once Upon a Broken Heart series is going to be pushed back. It will now be coming out on October 24th, which is honestly like not a big delay at all. Stephanie was really apologetic in her post. It's always great when an author is like transparent about those kinds of things. It's definitely much appreciated by the readers, but honestly, this is such a small delay that I don't really think that it's a huge deal. Then we got a cover reveal for After the Forest by Kel Woods. I remember talking about the acquisition announcement for this one in a previous news video, like maybe in the summer or something, and I was so excited for it. It's actually an adult fantasy retelling, or more reimagining, following Hansel and Gretel as adults, and it takes place like 20 years after that whole gingerbread house fiasco of their childhood. This cover, I don't love it. I also don't hate it. I think it's a little bit on the generic side, but I am hoping that the story will just blow me away because it sounds really good, and it's going to be coming out on September 26th. Then we got a cover for The Great Salvation by Emily Skrutsky. This new sci-fi novel from the author of The Bonds of Brass sounds so good. We are following a hot-headed hacker who must outwit the AI at the heart of a rogue warship turned penal colony. This one is a sci-fi thriller, and it sounds really relevant and really awesome. Next, we got a cover for Tonight I Burn by Catherine J. Adams. This is a new book releasing from Orbit, and it follows a thorn witch with the power to walk between the realms of life and death. And all of this is taking place amidst a magical rebellion, and this one's going to be releasing on Halloween. We also got a cover for Shadow Baron by Davinia Evans. This is the sequel to Notorious Sorcerer, which came out last year, and this one's going to be coming in November of 2023. And then 2 Orbit acquisitions that sound really interesting. The first one is Between Dragons and Their Wrath by Devin Madsen. Devin's the author of the Reborn Empire series, and Between Dragons and Their Wrath is the first book in a new trilogy called the Shattered Kingdoms trilogy. It promises to be full of dragons, alchemical magic, and forbidden romance. And this one's planned for 2024. And Orbit Books also announced the acquisition of 6 Wild Crowns by Holly Race. This is another first book in a trilogy, and it reimagines the Tudor queens with a fun fantasy twist. It's a story of brave women, courtly love, sexy yearning, tricksy prophecies, and most importantly, dragons. This one's planned for spring 2025, so we do have a long wait ahead. Then we got a cover for First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This one comes out on January 9th. It is a pretty generic thriller cover in my opinion. I do like the lime green. I think that it contrasts nicely with the blue. Like, it's a good color combination, but if I saw it in a bookstore, I wouldn't be like, wow, I need that book, you know? I do really love Ashley Elston's writing, so I'm not saying it on that account. I'm saying by like aesthetics only. I am very interested in reading this one because I have enjoyed so many of Ashley's previous books, and I'm especially interested in reading her first foray into an adult thriller. I think it's going to be really good, but I just am not sold on the cover. Then I just wanted to talk about a new game that Critical Role is putting out through Darrington Press. It sounds so cool. It's called Queen by Midnight. I am like obsessed with the entire look of this game. It just looks absolutely incredible. I love this like tall clock tower that is in the game that is also like a dice tower. Everything about it just looks so cool. And if you're someone that is into board games, I would highly recommend checking this one out. It looks like it's gonna be very, very awesome. They are going to be at Gen Con and people are going to be able to test play it, but the game will be releasing in August. Then Dark Horse is going to be releasing a video game art book for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It's going to be a 192-page hardcover featuring a mix of concept art and developer commentary on the game. There will also be a deluxe slipped-cased edition that will have metallic printed elements and an exclusive lithograph print. The standard edition is $49.99 and the deluxe edition is $99.99, and both will be coming out on December 12th. And Dark Horse is also releasing an art book for Octopath Traveler. This is a popular JRPG game. Andrew and I got the Switch version of Octopath Traveler like years ago when it came out, and I love the graphics. Like the graphics are so beautiful, but I did not get very far in it because I definitely picked the wrong starting character. I went with Ophelia, who was the cleric, and it was really tough to win any battles with her, which made it really tough to like progress through the game. I think if I did it over, I would go with, I think his name was like Cyrus, but I just love, like, I just had so much fun just like looking at the game. I was like, this is just so pretty. But this one is being adapted from the Japanese art book, and it also features a mix of behind the scenes creator commentary and also like hundreds of just beautiful illustrations from the game. This is the cover that they released as like a placeholder. It's not actually finalized yet, so it could change from this, though this is quite a nice cover too. And this one is also coming out on December 12th. Then we're going to be getting an official Critical Role cookbook. It's called Exquisite Exandria. We just got the cover reveal for it. This one's going to be coming out on August 29th, and I am so excited to see the recipes that they include in here and to hopefully make some for my own adventuring party. And then on October 17th, there is a Watership Down graphic novel adaptation that is going to be releasing. It's supposed to be a very faithful adaptation to the books. The cover art is really beautiful. I haven't seen any of the interior yet, but my interest is piqued. And this one's coming from 10 Speed Press. Okay, moving on to adaptation news, for which there is actually quite a bit. So first up, I obviously have to talk about the Scott Pilgrim adaptation because that just has to be first. So it's being adapted as an anime, which is something that Andrew and I have always wanted to see. It's going to be on Netflix, and not only that, but they've actually gotten almost the entire cast of the film to reprise their roles for the anime, which is just so cool. And it's being executive produced by Edgar Wright, who directed the Scott Pilgrim film, as well as Brian Lee O'Malley, who is the author, and also Ben David Gravinsky. There is no release date yet, but it will be a full series anime, and I am just so thrilled. They released a teaser animation of it, and it's gonna be amazing. Next up is that Game of Thrones is officially getting another spin-off series. It's another prequel, and it's called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. This series will focus on the Dunk and Egg novellas that were previously released and collected into its own bind-up. They follow the Hedge Knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, who is known as Dunk, and a young child known as Egg. It takes place 90 years before the events of Game of Thrones, and it will be written and executive produced by George R.R. Martin, which on the one hand is good news because he'll be involved in the development of the series, and on the other hand is bad news because that means it will be taking time away from him writing Winds of Winter. There's no casting news or release date yet on this one. And then there's another rumored Game of Thrones prequel series in the works, this one taking place even further in the past. It would be following King Aegon, who began the Targaryen dynasty. They're looking to potentially kick it off as a feature film and then develop it into a series after that, but all of that is still not really finalized yet, since it's just in the early stages. The movie would be set 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones and 200 years before the events of House of the Dragon. Then we got a sneak peek at The Wheel of Time Season 2. We get to see the new actor playing Matt, and there is no release date yet for the series, but if I had to guess, it'll probably be coming in the autumn. I personally didn't love the changes that they made in the first season from the book, so I'm not super excited for this, but I probably will continue watching for now. We'll see if I keep going or if I fall off. And then two pieces of, oh dear, news are that, first of all, Twilight is being readapted, but this time into a TV series, and it's going to be readapted by Lionsgate. There is no news of casting, release date, anything like that, just the announcement that this is happening. And then the other one is that Harry Potter is going to be adapted into a 10-year TV series adaptation that will very faithfully adapt the book series. We also found out that Maggie Stiefvater's Wolves of Mercy series is going to be adapted. It's going to be turned into a movie, and it'll be directed by Andy Fickman. I never read the series of hers, and honestly, I am so much more interested in the Raven Boys adaptation, which has never happened. So I was a little bit like, about this news, because I just really want Raven Boys. I don't really care about werewolves. I've never really liked werewolves at all. Then we found out that Exo Kitty, which is the spin-off of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, will be coming to Netflix on May 18th. This is going to be following the youngest Cubby sister Kitty on her quest for love, and I am so excited. These are just delightful, and I think it's going to be another trilogy of movies. Not 100% sure, but I definitely hope so. And then more Jenny Han news. She also announced that the second season of The Summer I Turned Pretty will be coming to Amazon Prime this summer. There's no release date yet, but it's happening and soon, which I'm excited for because I really enjoyed that adaptation. And then moving on into some of my favorite stuff. First, I'm going to touch on Star Trek. So both Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Lower Decks have been renewed for additional seasons. There's no release date yet for Lower Decks, but we did find out that the next season of Strange New Worlds will be streaming on Paramount Plus on June 15th, and I am counting down the days. And then continuing on with Star Trek news, it was also announced that rumored Star Trek Section 31 project is finally coming to fruition. It's obviously going to be starring Michelle Yeoh, and it's actually going to be a film and not a TV series. So it'll be something a little bit different. I really love Michelle Yeoh. I really like the other character she played in Discovery, and I do wish that we were following that character instead, but I'm still gonna watch this, even though I don't like Discovery. It is what it is. And then rounding out the Star Trek news, the next Star Trek TV series will be Starfleet Academy. It's going to follow the adventures of a new class of Starfleet cadets as they come of age in one of the most legendary places in the galaxy. It will likely take place during the Star Trek Discovery era, judging by how they say that it's like the first time that the school has reopened in so long. So the guess is that it'll be in 3190. And there's no word on the casting yet, but people are hopeful that a character that left Star Trek Discovery will have left in order to teach at Starfleet Academy. And then moving on to Star Wars news, the other Star franchise. At Star Wars Celebration, Disney confirmed that Daisy Ridley will be reprising her role as Rey, and there will be another trilogy of Star Wars movies coming in the future. I was feeling pretty meh about this news until I found out that Dave Filoni would be directing one of the movies, and then I was in. Filoni's film will focus on the New Republic, and it will close out the interconnected stories that we've seen in a lot of the live action TV series on Disney, like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and The Book of Boba Fett. And we also found out that Rey's film will be about her attempting to build a new Jedi Order. We also got an Ahsoka teaser trailer, which was just amazing, like brought tears to my eyes. It was so good. I can't even describe how excited I am for this show, especially being a huge fan of Star Wars Rebels. And if you are someone that has not yet watched Star Wars Rebels, I would highly recommend doing so before you watch Ahsoka, because it will pack the most emotional punch, and you won't go through the pain of waiting to see some of these characters again that all of us have been experiencing for years. And Ahsoka's premiering on Disney Plus in August. And then lastly, Disney is finally going to be making a film that takes place during the Old Republic era, so everyone who loves Knights of the Old Republic can rejoice. I know everyone's really hoping to see Revan on screen, but the symbol for the Old Republic was displayed on screen during Star Wars Celebration when Kathleen Kennedy was making her opening speech, and she talked about wanting to broaden the Star Wars timeline, since we usually focus on those three eras that we are all very familiar with right now. James Mangold confirmed that there is a movie in the works about the dawn of the Force, and that would likely lead up to the Old Republic. Next, it was announced that a Stranger Things animated series is happening. I believe they said it's going to be like an 80s style animated cartoon, which sounds really cool. Definitely makes me kind of nostalgic for my childhood. There is literally no other information at all about this. No idea what it'll be about. No idea like the characters in it, anything like that, but it's something happening. Then this is super fun news, but it was confirmed that Matt Mercer is voicing Ganondorf in the new Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. When the teaser trailer was released for Tears of the Kingdom, many Critical Role fans were like, oh my god, I know that voice. That's Matt Mercer's voice. And he said nothing online, but with the full trailer release, he was finally able to confirm that he is, in fact, voicing Ganondorf. And then the last piece of news that I have, which is so fun, is that starting on June 30th, anyone who's going to Disneyland in California will be able to see Rogers the Musical, which is the Avengers musical that we saw in Hawkeye, the streaming series on Disney+. It is a one-act, 30-minute stage play, and I am so jealous of everyone who gets to see it because I have been dying to see Rogers the Musical since it was first released. I even got a t-shirt for Rogers the Musical because I just thought that was so much fun. That's it. That's finally everything. I feel like that was a lot of news to cover. I didn't even wait that long between videos, and there's just like so much that keeps being announced. Like I almost feel like I need to do these more often. Anyway, that's everything for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know if there is anything else that you want to like discuss more in the comments, any news that you're especially excited for, anything that I might have missed. I definitely did have to cut things from this video because it was a lot already. But yeah, that's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!